Welcome back to Talk Solent, the programme where we discuss the biggest news stories of our local patch. I'm Jonathan Hines, and joining me this evening are Mike and Zaeus, singer-songwriter from Southampton area, and the renowned clairvoyant medium and teacher at Neshla Avey from near Fareham. For the first time in 9 years, Hampshire Farmers Market has returned on Sunday to the centre of Southampton to Guildhall Square. In 2007, it left its spot just outside West Quay, and people have had to travel as far as Romsey and Winchester since then to access homegrown treats from Hampshire. Some of the country's top producers were there, and more dates have been announced for 2016. There is also entertainment and music. Amongst the locally produced treats are sausages and pastries, and at affordable and competitive prices as well. Would you like to see more of the same, and do you get fed up with supermarkets and yearn to see more alternatives and local options if they were, of course, affordable too? What do you think of this one, Neshla? Do you get fed up with the boring supermarket environment?
Yes, I agree. I think bring it on. I mean, quite honestly, I think it's wonderful to support the local markets, the farmers, and it's nice to have local produce that's in season. So I think it's wonderful to be able to do that, because at supermarkets you can get everything now, but it gets a bit boring, doesn't it?
And hardly anybody remembers what life was like before supermarkets, because supermarkets have been around since the late 1940s. So there are very few people in this country now who actually remember life before supermarkets.
Yes,
I mean, can you imagine it?
Well, a little history I am aware of. When I did work for Sainsbury, they actually had a history that went back to the Victorian era.
Yes.
Yes. So
they're quite a small shop.
Now, when I was growing up as a small toddler in the early 1970s, I can clearly remember key markets, and I can remember Price Right and Richways, which all existed in Ringwood, where I lived at the time. And yeah, key markets lasted until about the 81 sort of time, and then suddenly disappeared. They shut down.
Oh, I hadn't heard of them.
Yeah, and there was Lipton's, I can remember, that were well known in the late 70s. Obviously Tesco and Asda need no introduction, but yeah, I can remember a lot of the old supermarket names. And generally, I take quite a lot of interest and pleasure in shopping. I think it's interesting, actually. We don't have bad food products in this country overall. They're pretty good.
That's right. Now, just to give a quick plug to a local musician, obviously we've got Mike and Zaeus with us here today, who you can find, of course, on YouTube. There's a lot on YouTube, isn't there?
Yeah.
And on SoundCloud and Bandcamp, and of course Twitter. You're a tweeter now, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, yeah. We're hoping to obviously put out a lot more material during the course of this year.
Yes.
And as well as that, I would like to make a lot of brand new recordings too. So if anybody out there could help me sort of go into a current career rather than the 20-year-old stuff, it would be great to
Not that long
hear from
ago,
them.
Tony, was it? Mike?
Well, not too long ago, but it's a little while back. Yeah, and I'd like to do some new stuff.
There will also be musical entertainment at this event at the Hampshire Farmers Market, and we've got Irish folk band The Troppies from 10:30 to 11:30. That was on Sunday, and from 12:30 to 1:30. And Farnham musician Marion will take to the stage with her accordion from 12:30 to 1:30. And there are some upcoming dates for the market from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Guildhall Square on obviously January the 24th, May the 22nd, July the 24th, and October 23, and that's in Guildhall Square. You probably know where that is, Mike. I'm not so good on the Southampton geography, but you're a Southampton resident.
I certainly know the Guildhall area. Yeah.
But would both of you feel if you knew that your food had been produced locally in your region, if all your food was from the local area, would that make you feel any different about it?
No, I think it would be actually a positive thing. It shows that someone on the doorstep is achieving their business success and they're giving you the general tastes and flavours you want. I think that's a positive thing, definitely.
Yes. Do you like shopping, Neshla?
No, I don't. Food shopping, I mean, not really. I mean, it's just something you have to do. But I just feel, and I've noticed the differences when you go abroad. Their vegetables and fruits are just so much nicer, and they're all, you know, they're misshapen and different sizes. Whereas ours are very conform. You know, they have to be a certain size, a certain shape, and I think it's nice to be able to just have that variety, really.
And in Europe, generally, they don't put all the chocolate and sugary stuff right by the tills, do they?
Yeah.
Have you noticed how they started doing that now?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I suppose without trying to be too unkind politically, that was something subject-wise I did want to get on a bit, because it seems to me there are a number of chocolatiering companies in which the flavour seems to have altered quite significantly in recent years. And some of the, I don't mean this about all the brands by any means, but there are a few brands that I believe aren't tasting quite as nice as what they used to.
Interesting, that's something for another discussion.
That's something that I have noticed. But one of the few brands
I wouldn't be
that
old enough
I
to
know,
say things like that.
one of the few brands I know that have kept their flavours very, very well and haven't honestly changed at all is Thornton's, and I think they're absolutely superb. And Lindt, that are either over in Switzerland or Belgium, they're keeping very, very good taste.
I'm glad you're listing more than one brand at a time, otherwise we'd have to keep saying other brands are available.
Oh, yes.
And Cadbury's will be very upset.
That's right. Right, unfortunately we've got to move on to another one now. There's never enough time for each subject. Now, would you be loyal to a local councillor and support them regardless of what party they were from, or would you keep to councillors only from your party that you support? A letter in the Daily Echo of Southampton is scathing of cross-party rivalry and hostility, and of Conservative Emily Clark's reaction to this letter writer's criticism of the proposed Wellbourne development in Fareham. The writer of the letter is also amused, actually, by these local Conservative reactions, brandishing this writer as a liar and being very critical of their support for another party, in inverted commas, when they have clearly stated many times that they don't support any party and never have, but rather that they support councillors that they believe to have local interests at heart and genuinely care about the local area. The writer endorses individual councillors based on their attitude and character and not on what party they belong to. Indeed, they have supported local candidates from all parties. But what about you? Do you agree with the writer of this letter? And should we be a bit more pragmatic and support individuals with our interests genuinely at heart rather than individuals from our favourite party? What do you think of this one? It's quite a complex one, maybe, Neshla.
It is, but I think at the end of the day, you know, regardless of what party they're from, if they're doing their job properly and we're happy with their decisions regarding your local area, then I think I would, you know, support them regardless of what party they are, because they're doing what I think is right.
Mike. What do you think? I mean, would you vote for a local candidate on their personality and if you thought they were genuine, or would you want to know what party they were of first? I mean, or would the party matter to you if you liked the person?
It's an interesting point, because I can get on with a lot of people quite well on a personal level.
Yeah.
But politically, I actually have very strong religious beliefs, and without sort of getting too deeply involved in that at this stage, I don't think there's a lot of politicians really that will give anybody ultimately the life they're really looking for. So I tend to have more sort of biblical views, I think.
Right.
But in the past, I think certainly when I was a lot younger, I was probably shedding more compassion towards the parties that probably didn't stand as much chance of getting in, like, say, the Green Party or the Liberal Democrats, something a bit like that.
Yeah, fringe, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of mid-wing going on, easy-going sort of party.
And what do you think, Mike, about the fact that a Conservative councillor, Emily Clark, was actually quite negative and quite hostile towards the writer of this letter, simply because the writer of this letter voted for what she said was another party? That doesn't seem that seems a little bit petty, does it, maybe?
Possibly, yes, but actually it's interesting you mentioning this, because I didn't actually know very much about this case, actually. It's something that's quite new to me.
This is Fareham.
Right, so I haven't really been following very much about it, so I don't really know very much about this matter.
Yeah, have you heard much, Neshla, about the Wellborn development in Fareham?
I've heard a bit about it, but I don't know a lot about it. But as I say, I think that, you don't go, for the looks or the personality as such. You go more for the views of that person and whether they're doing what you think is right.
Do you think it's possible, Mike, to tell, in truth, whether a candidate is genuine or not from looking at them on TV or radio, or do you think
it's very hard to say, because I believe a lot with the politicians that are around nowadays. I often feel a lot of them are looking after number one.
Right.
Really, I do have that feeling. And I think there was a time when many politicians and governments did care a lot more about the working man or woman in the street that needed help with something. And certainly probably in the 50s and 60s, I think particularly in those 2 decades, there was more compassion about people that needed help. But the views and powers of greed have stepped in a great deal over recent years. And actually something I read in the newspaper earlier this month, and I can't mention names because I'm honestly not sure, but one Conservative MP chose to give himself £520 an hour apparently, and there's another Tory MP that thought he should allow himself £3,300 a day. Which I think is pretty astronomical.
It's just a figure that they maybe sometimes just pluck out of the air.
Yeah, and there's some people struggling on unemployment allowances, and they're lucky to budget on about £10 a day. So it really brings it home to earth who is and who isn't, like the haves and the have-nots. So it can be a cruel system, I think.
Yes, more of that on another programme, I'm sure. We could go on for another half an hour on that one. Which is good. And if you have news that we should be talking about, then do contact us on our email, talk@thatsolent.com. Back with you again very shortly with more fascinating subjects for a discussion with Neshla, Avey and Mike and Zaeus.